The government has reached an agreement with Total over the construction of a crude pipeline to neighboring Tanzania. Now, commercial production in Uganda has faced delays partly because of the lack of infrastructure, such as an export pipeline. Now, the pipeline, estimated to be 1,445 kilometers, will cost about $3.5 billion. It will also take 2.5 to 3 years to complete. Total says the host government agreement also allows the Uganda National Oil Company to join the project. The other partner in the 230,000 barrel per day project is the China National Offshore Oil Corporation. Well, let's get more on that project. We're now joined by Abdul Samad Abdul Rahim. Among many things, he's a Tanzanian entrepreneur. He also serves as co-founder and chairman of the Association of Tanzania Oil and Gas Service Providers. Great to have you on the show with us, sir. Now, what we know so far about this project is that the pipeline is estimated to cost about $3.5 billion. Construction is expected to begin in 2021. So give us a sense of what you know. Is it clear who will be building the pipeline and, of course, how exactly it will be financed?
Thank you very much for inviting me to join this session. The $3.5 billion EACOP project, first of all, I have to really give a big commendable applause to our leaders, the President of Tanzania, His Excellency John Pombe Magufuli, but also President Museveni, for the courage, determination, and the drive toward this project. Now, in terms of the construction of the project itself, as to who will be building this pipeline, it's the and financing, as you rightly asked. There are, of course, ongoing process that has not been concluded yet in terms of the EPC contractor, but equally, when it comes to the finance, there will be finance element, which will include a mixture of various banks, but it is yet to be finalized.
Now, of course, this deal had been in the works for a while. What we know is initially it had been suspended due to some delays and tax disagreements with some oil companies such as Tullow, especially in Uganda. So is it clear whether all these obstacles to this deal are now no longer an issue?
When you have His Excellency John Pombe Magufuli in any deal, but be sure that the obstacles are to be, of course, eradicated or partially removed. When it comes to, of course, any deal in the government or any world, part of the world, of this magnitude, of course, it's what we call it, involve a lot of complexities. And one of the issues, of course, is fiscal, regulatory, and taxation part. Now, when it comes to the obstacles, of course, there were obstacles in terms of the taxation issues in the past, which there were finance issues, regulation issues, but partly it was due to the fact that Tullow, which was bought by Total, could not fulfill part of the obligation. Now, the obstacles have been removed, but of course there are other issues, and not issues per se, but more of the process to be completed and settled, such as the host government agreement, partly from the Tanzania side, and also the tender process to be finalized and validated, as well as to get all other approvals in place before the kickoff of the construction. But the major obstacles have been removed.
Right. Now, interestingly, last year, Kenya had announced renewed interest and, of course, a plan for a similar crude oil pipeline with Uganda. Now that we see Tanzania is taking on this project, give us a sense as to why Tanzania is an attractive destination for this pipeline.
Well, there's no going back. I have to first assure everybody, particularly the investors, as well as Tanzanians. The project has been sealed off, and you've seen President Magufuli inviting His Excellency Museveni in order to finalize the both government agreements. Now, when you have the blessing and collision of the government and the will of the heads of state, at this juncture, no way of going back. But again, when it comes to why Tanzania was so attractive, is due to various aspects. Well, number one is due to our territorial we don't have no terrains in Tanzania compared to our neighboring countries, but also when it comes to land acquisition aspect, the land belongs to the government, and it's much easier to deal with the government than compensating each and every individual or dealing with every individual landowner, which it takes a long process, and this is what happens in the neighboring country. But other aspect was the security. But most importantly, besides security, was the fact that it was cheaper to come to Tanzania as opposed to going to our neighboring countries.
Well, let's talk a little bit more about that. There's been a lot of talk about the rights of local communities and, of course, protecting vital ecosystems as Tanzania builds this pipeline, not just on the Tanzania side, but on the Uganda side. Of how much significance is this to the government?
Well, as I mentioned before, when you have the commitment of the heads of state, especially in Tanzania, His Excellency John Pombe Magufuli has set a very straight line and tone in Africa. The president who has really a genuine interest for the people and for the country. Now, of course, when it comes to you mentioned about the ecosystem in Tanzania, especially when the construction of the pipeline begins. But let's all remember that majority of the pipeline itself, the over 1,145 kilometers in Tanzania, will be buried above the ground. Now, the route, of course, has also been chosen to minimize some of the risk within local community. The environmental social impact assessment has also been done to ensure that no such issue of the ecosystem or the environmental will be jeopardized. This is why, hence, Tanzania and both Uganda have approved the ESIA, what you call a social impact assessment. But most importantly is the pipeline is and will be built under the ground.
Right. Well, we'll certainly be watching the progress of that project. Thank you so much for joining us, Mr. Abdul Rahim. That was Abdul Samad. Abdul Rahim is the chairman of the Association of Tanzania Oil and Gas Service Providers.